Look, we saw it back in the day with Mariota. He came in his rookie year, and for the first half of the season, looked like one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
Mitch Trubisky.
In the NFL, when teams start to get some tape on you, it tends to start to get more difficult.
Drew Lock has better stats through the first 5 games. Significantly better passing stats than Bo Nix. How do you feel about this?
Well, those are factuals, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, that's true. Now, before Broncos fans jump all over me, I grew up a damn Broncos fan. I was at the game Sunday. I worked for the team and went to a Super Bowl with the Broncos. So I'm not a Broncos hater. I'm saying that right now, where you guys have set expectations, it's very odd coming out of the Denver media. I'm seeing people posting that Bo Nix is going to win more Super Bowls than Elway or Manning, this and that. You are setting this guy up for failure if you have these expectations right now. I'm not saying that Nix is going to be a disaster. I'm saying that we're making judgments about how good Nix is playing, like based off a very small sample size that honestly in my mind hasn't been that impressive.
It's almost
been
like the
decent,
same type
but
of argument that quarterbacks are thrown to the wolves too fast.
Yeah.
It's almost that same type of argument.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
you're setting the expectations so high that even if he has only a development year or just a decent year, people are going to be pissed
if he does have a fall off. I think the other part of this too, and I'm not trying to like take things away from Nix. I'm just saying like the 206-yard, 2 touchdown, 0 interception performance to me not really mind blowing. When you look at 2021, the Saints under Sean Payton, you had Jameis Winston and Trevor Siemian combined for 25 touchdowns versus 6 interceptions in Peyton's system.
Jameis was
he was, and Siemian was doing whatever it is. They didn't win a game with Siemian, but he looked good on paper. I'm just saying, Dirk, I think in this system, it's set up for quarterbacks to succeed well, and Nix is doing a good job, at least in the last couple weeks, of making the safe read, making the safe throw. I'm just not yet seeing like this super advanced quarterbacking where some people are saying that Bo Nix is the next franchise QB. I think you just got to give it time, man, because I hate to see people turn on Bo Nix if he starts to struggle for a couple of weeks. And we've been through this, as Dirk pointed out, with Drew Lock. I mean, he started out 4-1, had like really solid stats for those first 4 or 5 starts in 2019, and then things got shaky and people turned on him. Look, we saw it back in the day with Mariota. He came in his rookie year, and for the first half of the season, looked like one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
Mitch Trubisky.
In the NFL, when teams start to get some tape on you, it tends to start to get more difficult. So all we're saying is, like, hold off on putting Bo Nix in the Hall of Fame and let the guy develop. Because people in the Denver media have been so in your face, I feel like, about how great Bo Nix is. And I felt like, and we talked about it, there is a pretty good shot if Gardner Minshew doesn't just inexplicably airmail Brock Bowers. Now, Jonah Ellis got good pressure on the play, so he had to throw it high, but most quarterbacks hit that throw. Denver's going to be trailing in that game 17-3, and we're looking at a whole different thing if Surtain doesn't pick 6 it. So narratives are, they can turn on a dime. I'm just saying, give it week to week with Nix.
All right, I'm going to just put this out there.
Yeah.
He has less touchdowns thrown than interceptions thrown. He has less yardage. These wins are more about the defensive performance than it is about the offensive performance. This is not hate on Bo Nix, but you cannot attribute this to the savior QB status, just like you're saying, Mike. I hope he develops, and I hope he does do really well. That's our hope. But, guys,
he should have one more touchdown. Franklin did not help him out on that one. But in fairness,
3 touchdowns
Nix should have hit Franklin earlier on the route. There was a point where Franklin had 7 yards of separation from the cornerback and 10 yards of separation from the safety, and Nix didn't get it over to him soon enough. So, I mean, they're just developmental moments that, guys, you got to let him develop, before we crown it. Now, here's the one thing about Denver, Dirk. I'm saying now this week is tricky. This week is very tricky with the Chargers, and it's still a lot of question marks about the Chargers. The way Surtain is playing, he's taking away a team's option in half of the field, so he's a huge part of Denver's defensive success. If Denver wins against the Chargers, they actually have a pretty good shot at 6-2 start, because you've got a backup quarterback in Spencer Rattler that they're probably going to be going against in New Orleans, and then you've got the Panthers coming to town.
Yeah, that's fair. Panthers, I think they'll win handily, but when it comes to the rematch, Sean Payton revenge game, that'll be an interesting one. I think that's a toss-up in my opinion. But when it comes to the Chargers, it's all about how healthy is Herbert. Like, is he playing in this one off the bye week? Did he come back? Not only that, who's Surtain going to shut down? I mean, there's no
Lad
clear,
McConkey.
there's no clear number one over there. So it's not like you're taking out Devontae Adams. You're not taking out, Mike Evans or whoever it is.
Well, that just seems like their offense doesn't have a great situation to begin with.
Well, but they've been way more running. They've only been giving Herbert something like 20 attempts a game at most.
Yeah.
So my point is that I think they match up well, but it's not. This is going to have to be won, I think, by the offensive scheme, making sure they have to score more than 17 points in this game for sure. It's probably going to be a 24-game threshold.
Right.
I'm going to call it the 20-point game is the Mendoza line. 24, they win this game.
It's going to be a ground and pound game for both teams, Dirk, and Javonte Williams looked really good. I will say a reason why I like Denver in that matchup with the Saints if Rattler is playing for the Saints. Do you really want a rookie throwing at Pat Surtain? I don't think so.
No.
That's why I give Denver the edge if Carr is still out in that one. So that if Denver wins this and gets to 6-2, it's a very favorable run. However, I'm going to go on a limb and say this too, Dirk. If Denver gets to 6-2, I still don't think they're a lock for the playoffs. I think they're going to run into a lot of tough games in the second half of the year too. So I just would say, Broncos fans, it's understandable to be a little exciting, but temper the expectations just a little bit until we at least get through October.